Are you seeking a better way to accelerate your sales, to scale your business, to live a life with no limits? Accelerate Sales Podcast features global experts who have cracked the code to recurring revenues with proven sales systems and get you on the fast track to scaling. Now let's accelerate your sales with today's episode.
Hi, I'm Paul Higgins and welcome to the Accelerate Sales Podcast, episode number 419. Today you're going to learn three key things. One is three options. That's right, three options for clearing 60 to 70% of your work, right? Wouldn't that be wonderful? The next is, what is a thought partner and how does a thought partner differ from a standard virtual assistant? And the third thing is what typically stops people, i.e. you, from getting an assistant, and most importantly, how to overcome that. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. And if you love what you hear, please subscribe. If you're a regular, always welcome those reviews. As always, there's going to be a summary of the show notes in what you're listening to on our website, paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast. And also you can get a full transcription if you need. And before we go into our interview with Valerie, I'd like to thank our two sponsors. The first is the Cloud Consultants Collective. It's where like-minded peers are in a free Slack community. I'll say that again, Slack community. And basically they're helping each other scale. So you can go to the cloudconsultantscollective.com to find out more. And the next is SendSpark. And it's an amazing video platform that allows you to send personalized videos at scale. It's got templates, it's got analytics. It's fantastic. And the best thing is it's going to be free for you for the first 6 months. If you go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/SendSpark, so that's SEND Spark, you can get that. So today's guest is Valerie, and she founded Chatterboss in 2017 after being an executive assistant herself to some of the best-known celebrities in the world, so well-known she can't mention them, and also some of the A-listers in corporate. And she was the chief of staff, loved the role, but she really developed a passion for effective problem solving and wanted to spread that broader. So she created a company and she called Chatterboss, and she loves problem solving, and generally she loves bringing people together. And that's what she does at Chatterboss. And they strive to solve customer needs, i.e. could be your needs, through a combination of intelligent technology, intelligent systems, and most importantly, intelligent people. So what I'll do now is hand you over to Valerie Trapunsky, and she is from Chatterboss. Fantastic having you here, Valerie.
I'm very excited to be here, Paul.
Yeah, same here. Look, having had or run a VA business for 5 years myself, and I still think that every founder, every business owner should have a computer, a phone, and a virtual assistant. So very excited to talk to you and certainly talk about how that relates to the sales as well. But why don't we kick off with, who are your ideal clients? Who do you love to work with?
It is such a good question, and we get asked this question a lot. And the truth is that we support all types of entrepreneurs. Our ideal client is an entrepreneur and a business owner, in whether it's an individual that is a solopreneur and they're running all of the operations on their own, all the way to organizations that have hundreds and hundreds of employees, and we're able to support not just that at that executive, at the founder and the CEO level, we're also able to support the executive team. So it's been really exciting to watch the different types of businesses that we're able to support, the way that those businesses at different sizes operate, and the types of support is a lot of times more similar.
Yes.
Regardless of the size of the organization than some people might think.
Yeah, great. And what are some of the problems that your clients have before they engage your services?
Yeah, so a lot of the individuals who have been doing the administrative function on their own, it's a little bit like boiling the frog. And so they start in their within their organizations doing those administrative pieces of the business, and they do it little by little, and they don't start to notice how much of their time it ends up taking overall. So the statistics that we see is that an entrepreneur will spend anywhere from 30 to 60% of their week bogged down doing administrative tasks and projects. And so before they come to Chatterboss, a lot of them are carrying this administrative burden on their own. But not only that, is that they do not feel replaceable in their business, because a lot of these administrative pieces of what it takes to run an operation is what runs the day to day. And so these entrepreneurs are stressed to take a day off. They're stressed to go on vacation. They're stressed if they have to take a sick day or if they're not feeling well, because if they're not the ones kind of plugging the holes to these hundreds of little administrative pieces, then no one else is able to, and a lot of the logistics of the business stop.
Yeah, look, and I was lucky, working at Coca-Cola, had executive assistants, and I actually even wrote in my contract, because there was a time when everyone said, look, a computer will completely replace your executive assistant, you don't need them, and without knowing the productivity, they couldn't measure the productivity, but they could measure the wages, obviously. So, all of a sudden they all started to go. And I'm like, no, it is so important for me to have that, 30 to 60% of the admin out of my life. So I was very lucky, and that's why I got into, following VAs when I went into my business. But for you, you must talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners that, it's like there's some barrier. There's some barrier for them actually crossing the chasm to get a VA, because I don't find many that ever come back, but I do find it hard for them to step across. What do you think that is, or what do you experience? And maybe, if you're listening or watching to this, you can sort of hear what Valerie's got to say, and it might be the trigger you need to actually go and get some help.
Yeah, and I love what you said before the question, because it's almost like there could be two barriers. One is in the organizations, in the larger organizations. I have seen so many times large organizations lose individuals in their C-suite because they believe that giving access to an executive assistant is something that takes away from their small business feel. It takes away, sometimes they feel like, something from the core values. And I've heard organizations say, this is part of the way that we operate. We do these things on our own, and they're proud of that. And so those executives like yourself that know the value of their time are increasingly frustrated in these types of organization, especially as we're moving remotely, because before, in a in-person environment, maybe there was more of this structure that there is an EA for specific C-suite individuals, and now it's rearranging a little bit. So that's very interesting, that point that you're making. In terms of entrepreneurs that come to us that are the founders of their organization, or rather why they're not coming to us where they are stuck, it can also be a few reasons. If they're too early, what they feel is too early in their operations, then they feel like, I can do it myself.
Yes.
And I'm going to wait until a very specific financial ROI in order to start delegating. And one thing that those individuals seem to miss out on is that the ROI is not calculated for executive assistants always in the same way that ROI could be calculated for other types of positions or roles.
Yeah, it's more of an opportunity cost, right? And we've all, you've heard it before, where, it's your hour rate versus a VA's rate. So let's say on average, let's say it's even $40 for a VA, your charge out rate's $500. There's an opportunity cost there. We've heard that before, but once again, it's a bit like corporate where it's hidden. It's not as obvious, right? And there's so many times that I'll start mentoring someone. I'll say, okay, so you've worked on this particular project. So what did you charge your time at? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, there's an opportunity cost of getting someone else. Ultimately, you might want to sell the business. You've got to actually charge your rate in there, right? Your time doesn't come for free. And I think that's, it's hard for people to understand that. That's great. That's one. What are the others?
And I think that I'm sorry, I have to say on this same path, because it's so interesting, not just the value of the hour of your time, for example, but it's that ability to create white space. So as an example, I like to use that. I had a client that had purchased a candle. The candle arrived broken. The price of the candle is $10. And this individual did not have the time to contact the seller, make everything. They didn't want to throw it away because they're environmentally conscious and they also spent money on it. This candle has been on their desk for months. When this entrepreneur sits down at their desk, they're looking at the candle and it's broken. They know that they have to do it. They're not prioritizing it. And it is a distraction and it is almost like a failure. They're starting every day by sitting down at their desk as a failure, and they're making the calculation. Well, it could cost me $20 to make this return and do all of it. So it doesn't really make sense. And I also don't want to do it myself. And they get stuck in this cycle. So it's also very interesting to look at it from that perspective as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And if you're listening to Valerie, what's your version of a candle, right? Like I know for me, I try to have a paperless desk, but it's not always the case, right? So there's, bills I've got to pay, or there's all these things that everyone says, oh, it only takes 2 minutes, but right, if everything takes 2 minutes, then all your time's gone, right? It compounds, you're right. So, so what's your version of that? Write it down because, and we'll talk about it later, is how you might be convinced, but maybe your partner, your business partner or your life partner isn't. So we'll get to that later. Okay, so that's great. So that's one. What are some others?
And then in some of those other cases where an individual has had their business for a while, and they've been boiling the frog, and now they're at a state of, oh my gosh, everything is on fire. If I take my time to start training someone, I'm going to get distracted and a lot of things will fall. So they get into the stage of, I don't have time to properly train someone, so I might as well kind of stay on and continue carrying this burden. So we see it kind of at those two extremes a lot of the time.
Yeah, I love that. And so often when I ran, the VA business, it was like, I'm too busy to get help. Right. And yes. It's like, and it is hard. Like, I've been in that situation as well. And like you said, I think, you've got to make, the reason you're in business is to make investments, right? You make investments in yourself and you make investments in other things. And I think, often I've found getting a VA is an investment. Like it's a little bit of a leap of faith and you need to take that leap. And like I said, very few people ever return them, right? It's like once you have one, you definitely never go back. So, I know that, you let's say they've finally got that. They've got their VA. And look, just quickly, from my experiences, normally 3 ways. There's, you can get someone through Upwork or, marketplace platforms. You can get someone direct, or you can go with an agency. I highly recommend, if it's your first time, go with an agency, right? And you might tell us, Valerie, sorry, why would someone go with an agency versus the other two options?
Yeah, I love the way that you outline these options, and I agree with them. And the reason that we encourage individuals, especially when it's their first time, to lean on the expertise of an agency is because they're going to have the processes in place, and they're also going to help you make that selection process oftentimes when something is not exactly in our wheelhouse, it is harder to predict what are the kind of things to look for, what are red flags, what are not red flags. And oftentimes when we are hiring or bringing on individuals that are outside of our area of expertise, I notice that we start to look at everything as a red flag because we do not know how to make the selection. And further, in those cases, we usually start the relationship from a place of mistrust because it's almost like we start by saying, earn my trust, versus what we know in positive relationships is you give the person your trust and you start from that place, which also then encourages positive behavior and starts to build that strong foundation.
Yeah, and I think, for the small amount of margin that you add to the overall salary versus the opportunity costs of you training, you doing all the training, you doing all the recruiting, you finding someone if someone doesn't work, it more than offsets it. So I completely agree with you. It's not just, yes, Chatter Boss is a fantastic example, but, overall, always recommend agencies over going direct or through Upwork to start with. So around delegation.
If I may add one more thing, which is that especially with our model, where I think is the biggest advantage, I believe that an executive assistant is such an important part of the business because, as we mentioned earlier, those are the individuals that can start to run these administrative functions to make yourself replaceable in your business so that you can take time off. And so that also creates the one assistant model creates a bottleneck, because if that person is then sick, this all falls on you. If they take a vacation, you're the one that takes it all back. So for that reason, I created a 2-assistant model with Chatterbus, where you get a dedicated assistant, but you always also have a backup. So you have at least a minimum of 2 individuals on your team, and they're able to support and work together and replace each other. So you have that built-in security system. And on top of that, you also have a team of specialists. So every time you do need an additional project, you need some extra copywriting, you need some extra design, you need anything that is required, some sales or something big has happened in your business and you need that additional support, you can get it in a pinch with the additional add-on team members.
Yeah, and that saves so much time. Like if you just think as Valerie's going through, like, I need a graphic designer, I need a whatever, right? How do you normally find it? First, you ask your team to go do some research. Then you go, and the team normally is you, right? Because you don't have a team as yet in a lot of cases. So then, you go into different platforms, you go into forums and ask, and then you get all these people, it's just so much of a time sink. Whereas, I love Valerie's model because of that. They've already done all that work, right? And they're already proven they're trusted, and it just saves you time so you do what you love to do, which is the most important thing. Now, often people say, look, I'd love to get a virtual assistant or an executive assistant, but I just don't know how to delegate. I don't know how to let go, right? So how do you help people to better delegate? Yes,
it's our favorite question that comes up because we have, from the beginning of our journey, decided that we are more than virtual assistants. We are thought partners in the individual's business, and we're also delegating gurus. And what does that mean for our entrepreneurs? They do not have to come to us when everything is perfect. They have all of their SOPs and everything is perfectly and neatly outlined. It's amazing if you're in that space, but it's not a prerequisite to getting started. And so when clients do get started with us, their only homework is to complete a questionnaire. And from there, we do all of the homework. We prepare and we guide them. We make a roadmap, and we will coach them on how to hand off their first few projects and tasks. And so that is built in over years of training individuals who have grown from assistance to client success. And so they're able to guide entrepreneurs in our methods all the way from the beginning. And it's really beautiful to watch. We have not had the instance where an entrepreneur wants to delegate and wants to learn to delegate and hasn't had the tools required. Plus, with all of our clients, you get unlimited access to our client success team. And so if you are new at this and you are nervous and you're still getting kind of your sea legs, you can work with your client success as much as you want to ask, how can I delegate this better? Or we had a miscommunication. How can we improve it? And so we have a lot of tools within our organization that we offer to our clients to assist in these kind of ways.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it was interesting. I played golf the other day with someone that works for Millet. So Millet, is the premium white goods manufacturer. I'm sure you all heard. It might pronounce a little differently in your country. I'm in Australia, but you get it. And he said, I said, why would you need service teams? Because it never breaks down. He goes, well, it's just amazing. We've got so many pieces of equipment out there that things just happen. But the reason you pay the premium is to get the after service support, right? So we'll come to your house, we'll fix it, we'll take all your headaches away. And what you've just described to me is a similar thing. Like you can always go out and get, a very inexpensive virtual assistant, right? There's lots and lots of them out there. But I think what you'll realize is once again, it's your time and effort getting them up to speed. Whereas I love the way that you've done that. It's like a valet service to really help support that. And if you're busy already, and, you need it. The other quick one I'll mention is one of the reasons I know people say I'm not ready to have a virtual assistant, and you may be thinking this yourself, is that I've got to get everything perfect. I've got to get all my processes done. No, we're just reorganizing. That day never comes, right? Believe me, that day never comes. And like you said, it might be 1% of people in the world have their SOPs and everything documented at the right time. And when they do, the second after that, it's changed, right? So don't wait for that. And if you get the help from Valerie, that'd be great. And if you got some ways of helping your team help the client get their processes in order.
And, something that, that you said, right, in terms of wanting it to be perfect until you do certain SOPs, all of that. I really believe in looking at kind of past behavior to understand future behavior. And it's different if you just learned the concept, right? And now you're going to do, you're going to implement it. But if you are a person that knows about SOPs and, you've read the books and the podcasts and everything, and you're still not implementing them on your own, chances are you're just not going to because you don't like it. I am that person. I'm not going to document it myself, but I can work with others. And right now, we have SOPs for absolutely everything within our organization. Everything is kind of is plug and play, and that's the merit of the people that are supporting. And if all of a sudden they stop supporting, you can rest assured that I will not be again, creating those on my own. It's just not something that brings me joy and something that I personally put off. And so if you're thinking about like, oh, maybe I'm going to do it, just consider like, how long have you known that you need to, and have you? Because if not, then chances are.
It's a great point. And the other thing is you're probably not the best person to do the SOP, right? Because most, you're probably more entrepreneurial. That's why you're in the business owner. That's why you're doing it, right? And your attention to detail isn't as good. And sometimes you don't know all the detail that goes behind something. And the best person to write the SOP is the person that actually does it, right? Because they're the one that are in the detail. It's so much easier for them to do it rather than for you to do it. So yes, I completely agree. If you haven't done it before, it's a pretty good indicator you won't do it in the future, but also it's just harder for you, right? That's not how you're wired. And I'm like you, Valerie, I'll run from an SOP, but I'll make sure that I have them in the team. So that's great. Look, I think the sales, right? The podcast is called Accelerate Sales, and that's what an owner should be spending a lot of their time on. owners don't spend the right amount of time, and you may be in that situation. The second is that, 50% of sales is typically admin. HubSpot say that, Salesforce say it, and I know we did some research at Coke. Well, what do you find that your people can help the client with when it comes to sales?
Yeah. So one of the things that people are surprised by that they could delegate out to an executive assistant, especially a thought partner like a Chatterbox assistant, is the sales calls themselves, because the assistant starts to behave like a part of your team. So, and I know that a lot of the times entrepreneurs are afraid to give up the sales calls. That's like the lifeline to the health of their business. And so there could be hesitation, but we have assistants that are amazing at it, and they know the business, and they can start coming in to those kind of things. They can also do things as they relate to answering messages in that sales funnel. They can support with any type of we do have individuals that are supporting with automation and things like that, and then maintaining some of those pieces as well. So you can kind of say like, hey, this broke, can you fix it and connect it? So anything that is not in your own expertise that requires kind of human maintenance within your sales is something that an assistant can do. We also have assistants supporting with writing newsletters. We have assistants supporting with social media, a lot of repurposing content. So as an entrepreneur, if let's say you are active on LinkedIn and you enjoy the long format posts of writing on LinkedIn, but then it takes energy to repurpose for Instagram, all of that. So you can have an assistant that repurposes your one post into a blog post, into your Instagram, etc. So pretty much anything that you're doing now in terms of your sales yourself that requires a human touch, you can have our assistants step into.
Yeah. And look, there's different models of doing it, but the one I always like, I just did this to a client the other day, just, track your day, what you do, just do it in, 30-minute blocks. And then let's just do a stop, start, continue exercise. Right. Mm-hmm. And, it's amazing just how much, once you do that, do it for a day, do it for a week. Even if it's on a bit of paper, it doesn't matter, but you'll soon see just how much opportunity there is. Because he was saying, I don't need no, actually, this is the point I wanted to raise with you. So he was saying, I'm desperate for a VA, Paul, right? But I've had one in the past that didn't work. So my wife, who's also part of the business, said, sorry, you're not going to have one. You had your chance, you're not going to have one. And I'm sure you've probably had a bad, or may have had a bad experience before, right? And, what are some other ways that the person that really needs it has got to sell to the person that's not as close to it? Have you come across that situation, Valerie? And, what are some ways to get around that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've come to that situation a lot where people are getting burned because kind of going back to what we said earlier, they're going out on their own and then they're not having a good experience. And then they're taking that to mean as I'm bad at delegating, or this is just never going to work. So they're making an assumption for the future of their, potential delegating journey that this is not for them. We believe that delegating is for everyone, but delegating is like a muscle. So sometimes when you've had an unfortunate experience in the beginning, it's probably related to a multiple number of factors. And what's important is to understand which were the factors that contributed. The nice thing about working with us is that we over-index on communication. One thing that we believe in is that because this role doesn't have templates, I think that it's really hard. Like, you can delegate easier, I think, in other areas, but in the overall general realm of administration, sometimes it's harder because it's very specific. So your communication has to be really good. The person's communication has to be really good. And you have to have this compatibility, which a lot of the times we don't know what to look for on top of processes and a million other things. And so what we do is because you also have this client success team that's on your side, we decode and demystify what the problems could be. So is it possible that you can start with us and have a bad experience like you've had before? Absolutely. But what we do guarantee is that if you have one bad experience, you're going to be super clear on why you had it. Is it your communication? Is it their communication, et cetera? And you will walk away with enough information to get you to that next step so that you can delegate well.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And, I think also having that, that list and actually quantifying, I think that really helps someone else see your world, right? It's easy to say, hey, I'm overwhelmed, I'm so busy. But if you actually show them the list and the hours and the breakup and where you're spending time, I think that certainly helps to get it across the line. And, I think the other, from my understanding, I should ask the question rather than assume, but where are your thought partners located? Where are they in the world?
So our assistants are based primarily in the U.S., all over the U.S. They work remotely. And we also have a team in South Africa.
Great. And do they do, is it similar tasks done by the different regions, or are there different tasks done by the different regions?
So the way that we're organized is that our U.S.-based assistants are the ones that are at the partner and at the pro level. So those are individuals that either you can lean on them to run the entire operation, kind of with asking for your approvals and so on, but it's when you're leaning on their expertise. At the pro level, it's a do it with you solution. So those are the dedicated assistants. They're US based. Our team in South Africa is at the administrative level. So this is when you have low intensity process fulfillment requests, and it's handled by our team there. And then there's opportunities for growth for those individuals as well, so that our clients may also find that their pro and partner level assistants are based in South Africa as well. So it's a nice cycle where teams work together in terms of the training, but particularly why it is set up in that way. The majority of our clients are US based. Yes. We have a strong belief that your dedicated assistant should be in the country that you are in, and that or at least where your business operations are. And the reason for that is just to understand nuances. Maybe there's a major power outage. Maybe there is something happening politically. And so these are important nuances because we are so focused on communication that people kind of know intuitively. And so it's for that reason that the assistants, pro and partner, they start US based, but our admins, as they learn the culture and the understanding of kind of what's needed, then they're able to move up into those roles. So it's been really nice.
Yeah, I think that's great. And look, certainly for us, we have, like you said, someone that can handle a sales call, et cetera. I think sometimes it's best to be in the country that they're in. So if they're in the US, I think, that makes it a lot easier. But then what we have done, and I'm sure you've got some examples, is where your executive assistant has a VA themselves, right? So then they might be talking direct to the client, and then you can do some geo arbitrage where you can get some people in different countries at different rates. So I think that's horses for courses, and don't mix up the two. And I think that the thing with getting someone that is a thought partner is more progressive. They'll actually help set up the infrastructure, so then you can bring people in under them. I think if you go someone that is, like Upwork or with direct straight away, they may not have that ability to set up and help you set up the SOPs, et cetera. Because I know certainly, different countries are different, but, typically in the Philippines, and it's not all cases, but typically, they like to have it fairly organized for them, right? I just want to follow this. I just want to follow this set, whereas different cultures have got different ways of doing it. Look, it's been wonderful talking to you about, how you help clients. And I'm sure if you're listening and you really think, I've got to do more, we'll give you all the links, et cetera, to Chatterboss in the link, and it's not Chatterbox, it's Chatterboss, BOSS. But what about for you? Or what are some of the best ways for you to get new clients into your business?
So for us, since we have started the business, the majority of our sales funnel has been from referrals. And we run ads, and we have our social media presence pretty strong. But it's been referrals in this kind of business. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs are in this type of a position where it's service-based. And so those individuals that are coming through because it takes a lot of trust with an assistant. And like you said, right, the first thing that you think of when you need one is you say, hey, who knows of one? It's almost like a nanny, right? A little bit, yes, you can find one online, like cold, but your preference is like, this person has watched your kids and they can watch mine. And so it's a little bit like that. People find that their businesses are like their babies. And so they really like when another individual that they trust makes the referral.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, we're strange with humans. I read something once where someone will take the opinion of a friend, right, that's got no experience in an area, rather than take the opinion of the expert, right? So you just got to be careful sometimes with are the people that are referring you, do they really understand the industry? Do they understand, your capabilities? And there's more to it, right? I think that's the simplest thing. So what we're going to do now is just go into the rapid fire section where I ask you some questions, get some rapid fire responses. Are you ready for that?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. So the first one is, what are some daily sales habits you do to help you accelerate sales?
Daily sales habits. I have a sales team, which is amazing, and they have some wonderful sales habits. They do outreach to our clients. So, our prospects. So we'll stay in touch over text and email. We also send videos. So that's a fun one that we've been doing. So, for those individuals with whom we've connected or we haven't connected, we like to send a personalized message that we record for each one. So, and that's been working really well, and it's been fun to create as well.
Brilliant. And for your team, how do they gain more knowledge about sales? Like, how are they getting better at their sales? What resources might they be looking at that you who's listening here can benefit from?
So I think that the team that we have, and it's one of our core values, is curiosity. And so, we're always all listening to podcasts. We are reading books. And so we're all we're reading articles and research, and we're sharing this amongst each other, and that fuels us a lot. And the other thing that we also try to do as an organization is I personally love to be mentored. I am very coachable, and It is fun for me to brainstorm a lot with others. So what I try to bring as a tool for our sales and marketing team is to have individuals that can bring a fresh perspective, work with us and do workshops with us so that we can gain these additional perspectives.
Yeah, brilliant. And one wish. If we could grant you one wish right now for your business, what would that be?
I always like to say that I am aspiring for Chatterboss to be the #1 remote executive assistant service for entrepreneurs, with the caveat that we are not looking for every entrepreneur that there is in the world. But aspirationally, we would love to have every nice and kind and self-aware entrepreneur. So we want to channel for ourselves these incredible relationships. So if I had one wish for us, it would be to have frictionless relationships, not to have a friction, for our assistants and for our clients to be satisfied and happy with each other. And like magic, when it happens to us in real life, it's really exciting. And as we know, with human communication, things do come up. And that's why, for me, it's part of a very kind of fun and interesting puzzle to solve, specifically with this industry, because it's the psychology of the pairing, and it's the psychology of the individuals. And so in a way, right, I wish for there to be no friction, but in another way, it's fun for me to solve the puzzle. But of course, I index more on.
Yeah, that's great. And the great thing is that, you listening to Valerie say that they're the values you've got. So, you're a great fit for Chatterboss. So the last one is, what have you learnt now in business that you wish you had have learnt earlier?
In the beginning, I had a lot of analysis paralysis, and I still operate in this kind of a way. But I really looked to get a lot of feedback from others. And sometimes it would make me spin, because I wanted to incorporate all of this feedback. And sometimes it was discouraging that the idea or the way forward is not going to work. So I think that, if I could speak to my younger self, it's to have the trust that your intuition, like, you are the one for your business, and certain things intuitively, and you can trust with them. And I think that that's not to say to get kind of power drunk and say everything that I touch turns to gold and no one's opinion matters, but to kind of trust those things that you're pulled towards some of the directions, at the very least, not to dismiss them, and to give yourself the opportunity to explore them.
Yeah, and I think, certainly in your case, because you came from looking after some of, the biggest celebrities in the world and doing it, you've got a really good understanding. So, yeah, I think, trusting yourself, and it's a bit same if you're the same, right? If you've come from a background where you're solving the problems of who you used to be. So for me, I was a cloud consultant. Now I'm helping cloud consultants, right? So you've got to trust that intuition a little more. Well, it's been wonderful having you on the show. So like I said, for you can go out and find more at chatterboss.com. So that's BOSS.com. And there's a fantastic resource there. There's the 10 productivity zaps. So you can find that there. And there's a lot of other good resources. But, I talk to so many business owners where they're saying, look, I just wish I had this, right? And normally this is exactly what you provide, Valerie. So I think it's a great fit. So reach out to Valerie. As you can see, she's very personable. She's got a great team, and they'll look at helping you, because the best way for you to scale your business is get out of your own way. And this is a great solution for that. So Valerie, great to have you on today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So that was a great interview with Valerie, such a lovely person, but she just built a brilliant business model. I love the fact that she has, a team of two, so Noah's Ark. So if someone goes down, you've got someone else to help, and also that specialist team. So you don't have to waste all that time trying to find them yourself, and it's all beautifully communicated. So, share your learnings on LinkedIn. Just post a photo of the interview and thank Valerie, and also go to chatterboss.com to get the top 10 productivity zaps that she's got on the website, which is truly valuable. Once again, all the links are in the show notes. Just go to paulhigginsmentoring.com. And why not share this with others? So I'm sure someone that's overloaded and needs to get a thought partner or an executive assistant. So send it to them, and they will think you're a rock star, and they will thank you, right? And I think some of the points she makes around, getting over the fear of having one will certainly help them. Check out our solo shows. Don't forget that free Slack community, the cloudconsultantscollective.com. And next week's guest is Alison Strickland, and she's going to show you how to win more deals as a Salesforce partner, right, when you're in a specific niche. And yes, it's great that she's a Salesforce partner, but some of the learnings apply no matter what type of SaaS platform or vendor you support. As always, Please take action to accelerate your sales.
I'm fired up after today's episode. What about you? But hey, before you go, learning is just one piece of the puzzle. Now it's time to put today's strategy into action. Head over now to today's show page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and share how you'll put it into action. Be sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review the show. Tell me what your favorite episode is. And don't wait 1 minute more to gain access to your pulse check at paulhigginsmentoring.com. This could be the difference between struggling to get more leads and making this next quarter your best one yet.